Welcome to Item Breakdown, a series where I hate fun.
Bergie! Where you been, man? I haven't seen you in months. How you been?
Sucking.
Uh...
Maybe my upload schedule can get a little inconsistent. Maybe I slack off a little bit. Maybe I don't show up on the Discord.
That's great. I'm glad to hear you're doing well. So, how about that item breakdown series you used to do? Like, where you go over the items and stuff and you talk about them. How about we bring them back?
Don't do this to me, no.
Okay. I see that might be a sensitive topic for you. Maybe we could call it something different. It won't be an item breakdown, it'll be something completely different. We'll call it an object fix-up.
Not sure why.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Just if you like the idea, just scream my name in frustration.
Loop!
It's great to have you on board, Bergie. How about we start with something simple like a twister?
Who cares about the twister?
Okay, that's fair. So how about instead we do the cursed key with some Phanto?
No, please.
Oh, don't be such a spoil sport, Bergie. You know what? I want to do Phanto. I'm going to talk about Phanto because people are really bad at using Phanto. So, let's go. Object Fix-Up, Phanto Edition.
Why do you hate me?
Welcome to Object Fix-Up, the low production quality series where I talk about stuff. Today, we're talking about the Phanto. Phanto comes from a cursed key, which is exclusive to the Super Mario Bros. 1 game style. Like any key, it can be placed in the level, in an enemy, or in a block. When placed in an enemy, the enemy will give the cursed key when it dies, and a block can yield the cursed key either when the block is destroyed, let's say by a bomb-omb, or by Mario activating the block with his head or related. I will not be focusing too heavily on the intricacies of regular keys, because I want to focus on Phanto. Phanto appears when Mario has at least one cursed key. Having more than one cursed key at a time will not make multiple Phantos appear. Phanto himself counts to the entry limit. Here I have 97 one-way walls and a fish bones that spawns from a pipe. Each of these keys counts as a separate entity, and so with this we have 100 entities loaded in simultaneously, which blocks fish bones from spawning in. With a regular key, when Mario collects it, it no longer fills a slot on the entry limit, and so here fish bones can spawn in. So it doesn't count when Mario is holding it. In contrast, with a cursed key, the cursed key itself does not count to the entry limit, but Phanto does. So even though I collected this cursed key, fish bones cease spawning. And if I collect a second cursed key, now fish bones now are allowed to spawn because I've opened up an additional slot into the entry limit. When Mario has access to multiple keys, he spends them to open locked doors in whatever order he collected them. And so here you can see the second locked door that I open, that is the one that removes the cursed key from Mario's possession. Now that we understand how the cursed key works, which is pretty straightforward, I want to focus on Phanto himself and Phantos Movement. Phanto himself is completely indestructible. Unlike many other course parts like Meowser or Angry Sun that can be potentially affected by other parts in your level, Phanto does not relent ever. You literally cannot do anything about him, and he does not interact with any course parts, which you might think is a disadvantage. However, Phanto has exactly one job, and that one job is to harass Mario to the ends of the earth. No matter where Mario goes, he will have to deal with Phanto. There's nothing he can do about it. Phanto joins the ranks of several of the course parts that will relentlessly chase Mario across the map and never ever despawn. This includes the Angry Sun, Meowser, and Winged Boom Boom. Phanto orbits around Mario, and he moves around to try to attack Mario specifically. So unlike the Angry Sun, where the Angry Sun's position is always the exact same thing, just dependent on the screen, and Mario can change where the Angry Sun is just by scrolling the screen, Phanto, within the same screen, does make an active effort to go and reach Mario. When making a level around Phanto, it's very important to understand how he moves. So if you look at how he orbits around Mario, he spends quite a bit of time very far to the left and very far to the right of Mario. He's basically on opposite sides, and he swings at Mario whenever he wants to swap between the far left and the far right. This is very important to understand when you're working near a scroll stop, because now, here, Phanto is orbiting completely off screen. Mario can't see that and can't react to it, and that's a big no-no. You want to be really careful that that doesn't happen. Vertical scroll stops, however, are completely fine with Phanto, so even if Mario is very near the top of the screen, Phanto mostly moves around horizontally, not vertically so much. So he will still be completely visible, even near the very top and very bottom of the screen. Next, we need to understand how Phanto swings at Mario. Whenever Phanto changes between being on the far left and on the far right, he will swing at Mario at different vertical positions. So sometimes he'll make a shot straight at Mario or go a little bit above or a little bit under. And this is where sometimes people think that Phanto's a little bit inconsistent. However, this is the part where Phanto really shines, because the main important thing to understand here is that the player is expected to react to the height that Phanto plans on going at. Here you see that Phanto has a constant beat of going up and down, very, very consistently. While the player will not always be able to piece out exactly the intricacies of Phanto's movements to predict exactly where he's going to be, that's okay, that's to be expected. The main thing that you need to offer as the level maker is to give the player a lot of options of where they can go around so that the player always has routes of how to dodge Phanto. So by giving the player a lot of different platforms, that is the key to basically dealing with Phanto. The closest thing Phanto has to an interaction is with Night Ghost House themes, or Night Underwater, where Phanto produces light. However, Phanto has a very strong negative synergy with dark levels, even though it might sound like, oh, you can maybe use him to illuminate something. That's because Phanto is best in levels with a lot of freeform platforming and a lot of options for Mario to move around. And if you can't see all the platforms that you could go to because it's dark, then it's going to make it really hard to reliably dodge Phanto. So in general, I will strongly recommend against using Phanto in dark themes. Let's talk about level genres that Phanto will work well in. Because this is the #1 biggest mistake, where people try to use Phanto in levels that are not designed to work well with him. First, puzzle levels. Don't use Phanto in a puzzle level, he literally only adds lethality. Second are Kaizo levels, which is the #1 biggest mistake where people try to use Phanto. A Kaizo level is always designed so that Mario has a very specific type of movement through that whole level, almost like the entire thing is rehearsed. However, Phanto responds very sensitively to Mario's movement in order to try to hit him. And so if there's slight differences between how the maker plays the level and how the player plays the level, then a lot of the times Phanto is going to add an obstacle to the level that you just can't dodge in a Kaizo level, because in a Kaizo level you don't have options. You don't have anywhere to dodge. In the same vein as Kaizo levels, Phanto does not make much sense in speedrun levels. Mostly because if you have to go fast and you have to do a very specific type of movement through a level, then Phanto doesn't really work well with that, where the expectation with Phanto is that the player has to respond to Phanto's position and then dodge him. It's a very much reflex-based obstacle. Phanto also doesn't really belong very easily in troll levels because he has a very high spaghetti factor. Where Phanto works best is in traditional levels or in levels with large amounts of free-form platforming, in places where Mario has a lot of options for where he can potentially jump so he never gets pinned down. As Phanto is all about free-form platforming, certain types of terrain are a lot better at helping Mario dodge Phanto versus get hit. In general, low ceilings make it a lot harder for Mario to avoid getting hit by Phanto. For this reason, small platforms like one-tile-wide platforms or other course parts that might restrict Mario's movement are going to generally make Phanto way harder to deal with. When placing Phanto, remember that even though he chases Mario very, very far, he can be very far off screen, and then eventually when he comes back, he can swing back very, very quickly at Mario, which can give Mario potentially very little time to react to dodge Phanto. In certain levels, this can be a big issue. For this reason, Phanto synergizes very well with timing-based obstacles or very vertical sections that make it very easy for Phanto to keep up with Mario in general. Timing-based obstacles generally slow down Mario so Phanto doesn't slingshot across the map so quickly. Additionally, Phanto keeps Mario busy when he's dodging Phanto in between waiting for the timing-based obstacle to allow Mario to pass through. For this reason, exploration levels also work well with Phanto because Mario will be allowed various options for moving freely through an exploration-based level. Phanto also makes it relatively easy to make pacifist-style levels by putting cursed keys in enemies that you aren't supposed to be killing. And it makes it a lot easier to understand that you're not supposed to kill enemies than if you put a regular key in them. However, pacifist levels in general aren't very fun, so I in general recommend against this practice. Remember that Phanto is a very powerful enemy that actually demands a lot of Mario's attention in order to dodge. And if you have too many extra enemies near, it may be very difficult for Mario to dodge all the enemies as well as Phanto simultaneously. For this reason, it's more recommended to put Phanto in a section that is a little less spicy in terms of enemy placement, so that Mario can focus a lot more on just dodging the Phanto. For this reason, it's generally a bad idea to put optional cursed keys in your levels, because a section that is just about right to work with Phanto is probably going to be very, very dull or plain without Phanto, or a section that works well normally and then you add Phanto to it will probably be unbearable to also have Phanto in the mix.
Now that we know how it works, how do we work with it?
So here's an example of one of my levels that uses a Phanto. This is a mandatory cursed key, and it's a jump detector level. While this section in general does not have very many enemies, the platforms themselves, because it's a jump detector level, require quite a bit of Mario's attention in order to dodge the Phanto effectively. And so even with just a couple of very light enemies, Phanto does a lot to harass Mario and basically make this section a little bit more interesting. Here, I gave the player a star so that they can completely avoid Phanto and not worry about him for some period of time and rush up through the jump detector-based dotted line blocks. Even though it doesn't kill Phanto, it still gives the player ample time to move through the level very safely. So this Phanto pairs very, very well with levels such as these, where the platforming kind of takes a little bit more of Mario's attention. This exploration level that I made with Phanto shows how you can effectively use platforms to give Mario lots of options to dodge Phanto. In levels like this, it's good to have platforms that act as complete breathing rooms so that Mario can just focus on dodging Phanto in between waiting for whatever timing-based obstacle needs to get out of his way. This works particularly well because Phanto attacks Mario on a schedule. He attacks Mario and then will be guaranteed to leave him alone for some amount of time before harassing him again. In this viewer level, you can see large areas that allow Mario to dodge Phanto reliably. Additionally, Phanto puts time pressure on Mario to go through this level very quickly. While these obstacles are very simple, the Phanto keeps this area interesting as it pressures Mario to go through this obstacle course as fast as he can so that he doesn't have to dodge Phanto for as long. That's all I have for you today. Hopefully this guide gave you some good ideas and inspiration to use Phanto in some of your own levels. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Object Fix-Up. Feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. See you around, guys. Later!